Hi guys, I am back in my kitchen in Dublin and I'm so happy to be here because I'm going to make for you a very delicious little supper. Very easy to make. It is vodka penne, a really wonderful new classic Italian recipe which has a tomato creamy sauce and is so simple to make. It starts in the pan with a little bit of pancetta and some butter. Frying your pancetta or smoked streaky bacon in the butter is going to bring out so much flavour. It has this wonderful salty taste. If you can't get pancetta, smoked streaky bacon just cut up nice and fine is perfect and does the job. So in with that, I have some nice chunky stuff here. And you just want to fry it down until you get a nice sizzling golden colour. This has to be one of the most simple pasta dishes you will ever make. It takes literally about 10 minutes. You will have the sauce done in the time it takes to cook the pasta. I already have mine done. While the bacon or the pancetta is frying off, I'm just going to add in a little sprinkle of dried chili flakes. Now, you don't need to use these if you don't want to, but if you like a bit of heat, get them in there. Now the reason this recipe gets its name is because you add vodka to the sauce. Now it sounds like a bit of a strange addition here, but the use of vodka in here intensifies the tomato sauce and kind of brings out the sweetness in there. So it does have its uses. I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons into the pan here. And if you're cooking this for young people, remember the alcohol is going to burn off, so don't worry too much about it. So 4 tablespoons go in here. It will sizzle, it will fizz, but don't worry about it. It just needs to cook out. Just for luck. So once that has sizzled away, you want to get about 3 or 4 tablespoons worth of tomato puree in here. All these things you can have on hand and they literally just get thrown together to make a delicious meal. Once you have that tomato puree nicely mixed through, what you need to add in is some double cream. It is quite a heavy dish, but you know what? It is so creamy and delicious once you put this in. It's worth it. So pour that in and just mix it all through. You want to bring it up to just a kind of nice simmer, and then we're going to add our pasta in. So in alongside this lovely sauce, I'm going to tumble the pasta with some Parmesan cheese and some parsley. So give it a good grate on a microplane grater like this. And you want to look for Parmigiano Reggiano, it's the best stuff. Take a good handful of flat leaf parsley like this and just rip off the stalks and put them to one side, and you should be left with a nice bit of leafage there. And just roll this into a nice ball, and you kind of want to give it a rough chop. You don't have to be too careful here, but it's lovely to get flecks of green in here. And because it's such a rich sauce, it needs that freshness from the herbs. Lovely. I've got a big bowl of penne pasta which I've cooked up and drained, and now it's ready to be added straight into the sauce. Just give it a really good mix through just so that the pasta is all completely coated, and then just dump in that Parmesan cheese, lovely Parmesan cheese, and also some of that wonderful parsley in there as well. This is going to be absolutely delicious. Just mix it all through and this is ready to rock. A perfect little 15-minute meal that will blow your mind. A last little bit of Parmesan cheese and flat leaf parsley over the top, and check this out, a mega little pasta dish. This is my vodka penne. I want you to give it a go. It is so delicious, and I'm going to tell you how it's delicious because I'm going to try some. So in with the gob. That is so good. Creamy, that vodka in there has intensified the tomato puree. You've got a nice spicy kick in there. I'm off to eat this in a corner by myself. Goodbye. Pasta has to be the ultimate midweek meal. It's quick to cook, and I have an ultimate mushy roast garlic and cherry tomato pasta I'm going to show you how to make. It starts off by cooking my pasta in a big pot of water. When you're cooking your pasta, you need to make sure you salt it up, so get lots of sea salt going in there. I'm using some whole wheat penne pasta. You can use spaghetti, you can use those little bow ties, you can use whatever pasta you fancy. And I'm using whole wheat because I like the texture, I like the taste, it's good. So straight into the water, that's going to cook off. Now this sauce does take a little bit longer, so if you're making this in real time, make sure you have your tomatoes and onions and garlic roasted off beforehand. But because I have one I've made earlier, we're going to crack on with our sauce. So I have these cherry tomatoes which I'm just slicing in half. This is exactly what you're looking for. A nice open-faced cherry tomato, which looks beautiful, is going to caramelize up and become deliciously sweet. Cherry tomatoes are looking good, and now it's time for the onion. With your onion, make sure that you have your root intact because this is going to hold the shape on your red onion. So slice it down, and then you want to take it in sort of quarters is what you're looking for. And these are going to roast off. They give a lovely sweetness alongside that cherry tomato. With your garlic, you want to expose the cloves. So take a sharp knife and then just cut straight down the center. And by doing this, your whole head of garlic gets exposed and they are going to roast off. It looks like a lot of garlic here, but they are going to roast off, become deliciously sweet and really mushy and tender, and they bring this sauce all together. So place them in your baking sheet like this. I'm going to tumble in all those lovely tomatoes in and around. To bring all that sweetness together, I've got some balsamic vinegar, so just pour that all the way over. You want about 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar over here. And when that roasts down, the intense sweetness is just so awesome, so please don't skimp on your balsamic vinegar. Also go in there with a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, or just normal olive oil will do. And then we're gonna finish it off with a good sprinkle of sea salt and a tiny touch of some black pepper. So give it a good crack of black pepper, and then I like to do what I call the mushy garlic and tomato sauce shake. Give it a little shuffle, give it a little shake. So this is now ready to go into the oven, 200 degrees Celsius. It's going to cook off for 35 to 40 minutes until your tomatoes are nice and caramelized, your roast garlic is tender, and also your onions are a little bit mushy too. Off it goes to the oven. Now, in the oven, I do have one that I have prepared earlier. It's been roasting off. This is where the action comes together. Tasting one of those beautiful roast cherry tomatoes is like a sweet, and they're so good, and that's why this sauce comes together so well. But right now you are left with something that looks a little bit charred, a little bit burnt, but stick with me. This is going to be the basis for the most ridiculously delicious pasta sauce. So with those garlic cloves, if they're not too hot, you want to squeeze them out and squeeze any of that mushiness. And now, using the back of a fork, we're going to get in there and we're going to mush all of this together. So it's mushing time. Once you have a kind of rough, mushy sauce, you are in business. So my pasta should be cooked at this point. So it's looking pretty good. And actually, I'm going to use some of that starchy pasta water to bring this sauce together. So just take a ladleful of this water and pour it over that wonderful sauce. And in the meantime, I'm going to drain off my pasta and then bring everything together. Okay, pasta is drained off, looking good. I'm gonna give this mixture just a last little mix through it. That little bit of pasta water just helps any of those kind of little stuck bits at the bottom start to become a really rich and dark sauce. So this is looking absolutely fantastic right now, and this is my favorite bit. Once you have all that flavor in the base of the pan, it's time to get in there with the pasta. So I have my whole wheat pasta going straight in here. Boom, bada boom. Now it's time to build on the flavor, so I have some Parmesan cheese. Give that a good generous grating over the top. We're also going to hit it with some basil and then just a last little sprinkle of sea salt and black pepper. And then just break in some of these basil leaves, and what will happen is they'll just start to wilt down into that tomato sauce and you'll be left with something spectacular. So you get completely coated in all that wonderful pasta and the sauce. And if you wanted to go the extra mile, at this point you could stick a load of cheese over the top and stick it back in the oven and you would have the most beautiful pasta bake. But for me, this is all you need. We're gonna serve this up. Just take some of that pasta and stick it straight in the plate. Finish it off with a last bit of Parmesan cheese, and that is a rocking little pasta dish that I hope you'll give a go. If you're looking for more pasta inspiration, check out my pasta playlist and you'll see lots more delicious recipes. If you want the recipe for this fantastic pasta, you can check it out in the box below, and there's a link to my website where you'll get the full details. But right now, I think I need to try some. So I'm gonna grab a fork and try some of those lovely tomatoes, the Parmesan cheese. Oh, I mean, you can have just your regular old tomato sauce, but where it's at is those dark flavors where they've roasted off in the oven until they become caramelized and sweet. There's so much going on in this sauce, and I really hope that you'll give it a go. I was once in a pop band. Of course, I never mentioned this.
But when I was in this pop band, of course, we ate lots of food, which is the obvious thing you do when you're in a pop band. And one of the dishes we used to always have was made by my friend's mother, Skehan. And Skehan used to always make this creamy spinach chicken pasta, which can be made in a matter of minutes. It is booming with flavor and it is so easy to make. It starts off by getting your pasta on the boil. I have a big pot of boiling water, and before I stick this pasta in, I've got some tagliatelle. I'm gonna hit it with some sea salt, getting it straight in there. We've got a lot of tagliatelle going in here. You can use whatever pasta you like, but I think the sauce goes really well with the tagliatelle. There's a bit of bite to it and it's very nice. So a few little balls of tagliatelle go in here. Give them a quick stir up just to make sure that they start to come loose. And now it's straight on to our sauce. Because you've got your pasta cooking, you need to get your sauce straight on. The beauty of this recipe is that while your pasta is cooking, your lovely sauce comes together. So we're gonna start off in a frying pan with a little bit of butter. My cooker is not plugged in, and that is what's required in order to cook. So we'll just cut this and we'll get our plug. Now that that's plugged in, that's the noise you're looking for. My pan is on, it's heating up nicely. We're gonna melt in some butter, just 1 or 2 knobs of butter going in here. And we're gonna fry off our chicken with the butter. But before we do, we need to season it up with some sea salt and some black pepper. And you're gonna fry these off until you have a nice golden color all the way over. A little bit of oil goes into the pan just to help prevent the butter from burning. And then give your chicken a good mix up, just so that it's nicely seasoned all the way through. As much as I love cooking, I loved being in a pop band. We had so much fun on the road. We supported the Pussycat Dolls, and yeah, we had lots of fun. But one of my favorite things was to cook for the band, and so we often had healthy salads, but this was like a proper little comfort food dish. So if we'd had a long day on the road, we'd sung our hearts out, it was time to eat something comforting and good, and this is the dish for the job. Chicken straight in here. Get it fried off and nicely golden all the way over. While the chicken is cooking off, I'm gonna chop up some garlic. Garlic adds really great flavor here, so you just want nice thin slivers. And the smell is starting to come together. You've got beautiful frying chicken, you've got this wonderful garlic. It's time to get the garlic straight in there. Just sprinkle it all the way over the top. Nice hunky chunks. And we're gonna give that a stir through, but before I do, I'm just gonna chop up my sun-dried tomatoes. Now, if you can't get sun-dried tomatoes, you can take little cherry tomatoes, drizzle them with some olive oil, some balsamic vinegar, a bit of salt and pepper, and put them in an oven at 200 degrees Celsius for about 40 minutes, and you'll be left with the most beautiful little tomatoes, which can be added in soups and sandwiches, or in a pasta dish just like this. Back to the chicken, check out how it's going on, give it a good stir, get your garlic going on in there. Okay, chicken is cooked through, garlic is smelling beautiful. Get in there with just a little more butter, and we're gonna start a sauce going on in here. So melt down that butter, and in on top of that, we've got some cream. So cream goes straight in. And you want to sizzle this away just until it reduces, intensifies a little bit. The sauce is now thickened up ever so slightly, so I'm going to get in there with our spinach, and it does look like a lot of spinach here, but stick with me, okay? We're going to get it straight in there, try not to get it all over the counter, as I have, but that's not the end of the world. Get that in there and let it wilt down. This is going to give you great green color in through that creamy sauce. It's a true thing of beauty. Check this out. That wonderful sauce has bubbled up, it's cooked, and now it's ready for those cherry tomatoes. So get them straight in there. Give them a quick mix through, and now this sauce is ready for the pasta. So grab it, drain it, if I can get this glove on me. Drain it over by the sink. Where else would you drain it? I don't know, not on the floor. Stick your pasta straight back in. Oh, I've got some stuck to the bottom. Stick this straight back in. And now it's time to get mixing. So pasta is cooked. Get this straight across. Mix your sauce straight in. And now, using tongs, give it all a good mix through. Oh, it looks so good. It is creamy, it is steamy, it is delicious. This is a dish for dinner, it's a dish for loving, it's a dish for good times, it's a dish even if you're not in a pop band. Finish it off with a nice bit of Parmesan cheese over the top, and there you have it. A thing of true beauty. And now, it's forking time. Get it in there, get some pasta, get some spinach, get some of that cherry tomato, get the creaminess. I'm pretty excited about this, as you can probably tell. Oh, This is why this dish is so brilliant. Only a few ingredients, very simple, very quick. It all cooks beautifully together. You've got spinach, you've got that wonderful sweetness from the cherry tomatoes, that lovely chicken, which is nice and tender, and of course, that creamy sauce. If I could choose one simple pasta recipe that you should absolutely try and put as part of your everyday repertoire, it is spaghetti all'arrabbiata. I think I've pronounced it right. I hope I've done it justice, but we are going to make this and show you just how easy it is to make a spicy, luscious tomato sauce. It is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And best of all, the ingredients in front of me are all the ingredients you'll need. Some spaghetti, some tomato puree, some tomatoes, a little bit of chili pepper. I've got some extra virgin olive oil. I've got some pecorino, and I've got some garlic. You need no more. And it starts off by cooking up our spaghetti. So get some spaghetti in there and get mixing. I'm just gonna mix through so that it gets nicely coated in the water. This is some heavily salted water. And while it is cooking off, we're gonna crack on with the sauce. So get your pan on a slow and low heat. I have 2 large garlic cloves, which I'm just gonna finely slice with a sharp knife. And I want thin little slivers of garlic here, just for that taste and that fragrance and flavor. And if you're not a garlic fan, but you still want to develop the flavors in your sauces, a nice little tip is to take a whole garlic clove, unpeeled, and stick it straight in the oil, just so you get the taste, but you don't get the texture of the garlic. So it's a little subtle hit of it. So this goes into a pan, alongside some extra virgin olive oil. I've got a few tablespoons going in here. You know, when you're frying it off like this and you're using it with simple ingredients just like these, I tend to use extra virgin olive oil rather than normal olive oil because it's a really good, strong flavor from it. Garlic goes in as this comes up to temperature. We're gonna slowly but surely infuse that oil, bubble and sizzle, and get it to a point where the garlic is just about turning light and golden brown. And while that cooks, I'm going to blitz up my tomatoes for this recipe. To my tin of whole plum tomatoes, I am going to add about a tablespoon or so of tomato puree. Now, there's a reason for this. I want that intense tomatoey flavor, and sometimes these tin tomatoes, they need a little bit of extra help. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon or so of tomato puree, or tomato paste if you're in the US. This now all goes into a food processor, and I'm gonna blitz this up so I get a super smooth and silky tomato sauce to this recipe. So lid on, and let's get blitzing. Okay. Oh, a lot of noise, and you don't have to do this step particularly if you like chunky tomato sauces, but this results in the silkiest all'arrabbiata you will ever come across. So I have that ready to go. My garlic is just turning that little touch golden, and this is the point where you need to get it to, and you don't want to go further than this. So to this, we're going to add a generous pinch of red chili flakes in here. I like my arrabbiata spicy, so get it in there and hit it with that spice. And now that we have that oil flavored with the spice, flavored with the garlic, it's time to get in there with this tomato puree and that canned plum tomato. There's the action. We got some sizzle, we got some serious flavor coming together. So you're combining that oil in alongside the tomato. This can only be a good thing, and it's gonna cook quite quickly. It only takes about 8 to 10 minutes just for those flavors to thicken down, intensify, and soon it will be ready for that cooked pasta. Pasta sauce has had its time. You can see it's bubbling away, and I'm just gonna check the seasoning just to make sure we're in business. It's good, but it needs a touch of salt. And funny enough, you know, I know this sounds like a really obvious thing to say, but in cooking, that little bit of salt can mean all the difference between a good tasting dish and a bad tasting dish. So make sure you check your seasoning as you go. This is good to go at this point. I'm gonna turn off the heat on my pasta, which is cooked. And now it's just a case of getting this all involved in the one pan. So grab up that pasta, transfer it straight into that hot sauce. A lot of people wonder what that point of difference is from really good pasta dishes, and often enough it comes down to well-seasoned pasta, but also the use of a little bit of that starchy pasta water. And that's why in this case I'm not draining the pasta, I'm taking it from one pot to the next, taking in a little bit of that starchy water alongside. It will be the difference. Give it all, a good toss. You want to get that tomato sauce involved. Look at that, only a few minutes and you have pasta beauty all in one pan. Really gorgeous. Oh yeah, oh baby, oh yes. That is looking fantastic. Right, let's serve this up. This looks really, really wonderful now. And all you gotta do is stick this straight into your plate. I mean, you need no more. And the brilliant thing about this is just how few ingredients it takes to create beautiful pasta perfection. Arrabbiata, done in minutes, in the time it takes to cook the pasta, and then a last little touch of pecorino just over the top. Give it a swirl on your fork, get it coated, have a little moment, feel a little bit romantic. Oh man, one of the first pasta sauces I ever learned to make, and one that I come back to time and time again. If you have never made any pasta recipes before, this is the one to start with. It's the sort of basis of some great Italian cookery, and it is so, so delicious. Best of all, you can make it in minutes, and you probably already have the ingredients in your store cupboard, so go try this recipe. I want to introduce you to a pasta that could possibly change your life. It is the easiest pasta recipe you will ever come across. Inspired by the great Martha Stewart, it only takes a few ingredients and it's all done in one pot. This is my one pot pasta with tomatoes, basil, all those brilliant classic Italian flavors. So it starts off with a little bit of chopping. I've got some tomatoes which are already sliced. I'm going to slice up my garlic nice and thin. And the beautiful thing about this recipe is that it all takes place in one pot. So once you have all your ingredients ready to go, it's going to cook pretty quickly. So we've got garlic, we've got a little bit of chili. You don't have to add the chili if you don't want to, but I think it adds a nice touch of heat in a pasta sauce just like this. The trick with this pasta, because it cooks so quickly, is to make sure that you have nice thin slices on your garlic, on your chili and on your onion. It just means that it's going to cook together quite quickly and quite fast, but you're also not going to get any of that raw flavour from any of those ingredients. So just nice thin slices on your chili, and then finally that onion. Just take the tops and the ends off your onion and then just finely slice on the vertical. You should be left with wafer thin slices of onion that is going to cook down and add so much richness to this sauce. I have to admit that I was quite skeptical when I first came across this recipe, but it really works. Having tried it, having tested it, it just comes together as something really luscious, creamy and satisfying in the sense that you get all those Italian flavours in one pot with very little effort. We are in business. We have the onion, we have the garlic, and we have the chili, and now it's all about an assembly job. I have a pan that's large and high-sided, and I'm going straight in there with some pasta. We're going to start off with onions in one corner of the pan. Stick in that chili and the garlic. Get in those tomatoes. I'm using cherry tomatoes here, and if you can get a mixture of colours, all the better. But any tomatoes will do here. You just want something that's going to break down quickly. So if you have larger tomatoes, just chop them up a little finer. And then for that truly authentic Italian taste, you have got to go in there with basil. I'm going to use about half this bunch in the sauce at the start, and then I'm going to decorate it with some more at the very end. So just tear off some of those leaves, and then scatter them in and around this lovely looking pan. A good drizzle of olive oil going in here. You just want a few glugs. Season it up with some salt and some pepper. There is something very satisfying about a dish that looks this good before you've even started cooking. Now that we've got all that, it's time to get in there with our liquid. You can use chicken stock here if you want to, but just regular water will do. Just pour that straight the way over. And now, that's pretty much it. That's all you've got to do. Stick on the heat. This is going to cook out for about 10 minutes. You need to continuously stir and just keep an eye on it to make sure everything breaks down, it cooks out, and you get left with this brilliant pasta sauce. This is now starting to come together. It's come to the boil, and you just need to use the tongs and mush it about the place. And what will happen is that pasta will swell up. It'll take on a little bit of the liquid. The tomatoes mush down. You've got all the flavour of the onion. And basically what you'll be left with is a silky smooth pasta sauce, which is just epic. The only piece of advice I will give you while making this is keep your eye on it and use that tongs just to make sure that everything cooks through. I mean, it's only going to cook for 10 minutes, so you do need to keep an eye on it. this is exactly what you're after. That silky sauce, that perfectly cooked pasta. And now to finish it off, I'm just gonna grate some pecorino cheese over the top. The trick here is to grate the pecorino in, give it a last stir, and it actually helps to bring the sauce together with that bit of creamy cheese running through it. That should do me. Give it a last good stir through, and don't forget some of that fresh basil. Just tear in those leaves. That last little hit of fresh basil will just make all the difference. Give it a last little stir, and the liquid that's in this pan has come together with the starchiness from the pasta to create a really velvety tomato sauce. So this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna give it one last season with a bit of black pepper. And now it is time to serve. This is where I get a little bit excited. We've only had 10 minutes in a pan, and you get left with the most creamy and luscious looking sauce. The tomatoes have broken down, the sweetness is just gonna add so much to this sauce. So now, all that's left to do is to dive in and try some. This is why this is so amazing. In very short amount of time, you have a perfect plate of pasta. It is creamy, it's delicious, it has all the flavors of Italy in one bite. Italians, please look away because this is probably not the classic way to cook this, but it is so, so good. If you want the recipe, you can check it out in the box below over on my website. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for lots more delicious pasta recipes. Like this video, share it with your friends, and of course, leave me a comment in the box below letting me know if you're gonna try this delicious pasta. Until then, my friends, happy pasta making, and I'll see you soon.